So, gonna go straight into it because World Series Warzone qualifiers, day 1 and day 2 was absolutely awful. Day 3 was fine. Day 1 and 2 was awful, shocking. Especially day 2, shocking. But Reports has put out a tweet, and I agree to a certain degree of what he said. This is probably the worst year we've ever had for quals. The amount of cheaters teaming we saw was insane. Next year, I really hope they reevaluate and do custom quals with mandatory streams and face cams. Comp scene is never going to grow unless there's some type of change. Now, I agree. I've said this for the last couple of months, if I'm being totally honest. Obviously, me and Hector have spoke in DMs about face cams, money cams, certain things, and I agree. When you're playing, whether it's for a 5k, 10k, 15k, 25k, 50k, 100k, $1 million in this case, World Series Warzone, $1 million. It should be mandatory that every player that is doing open quals should be vetted beforehand. They should have money cams. They should have money cams ready. Face cams as a mandatory thing, and streams should be mandatory. Now, on the Friday and Saturday, I had 21 tabs up and 17 tabs up, and on the Sunday, I had 17 tabs up. And watching people on the Friday do absolutely awful whilst they were streaming, and then come Saturday and Sunday, they seem to be popping off when they're not streaming. It's not right at all. Even I was questioning, how are they popping off? Because especially Saturday lobbies were awful with hackers, but these people that weren't streaming suddenly went from like 3 kills a game to dropping 10 kills a game. Now, people will say, oh, well, that's not a big difference. 3 to 10. It all depends on what lobbies you get. But when they're going from, prime example, someone was on a 0.4 KD on the Friday, and then they've shot up to a 1.8 KD on the Saturday and a 2.1 KD on the Sunday, and the Saturday and Sunday they wasn't streaming. I think that is very questionable, in all fairness. And I think, especially for World Series Warzone, teams should be locked in literally a week before, not the last 10 minutes before registration. If you lock a team in a week before, that gives you a week to do the whole vetting of the players' accounts. There's a lot of players that were told, go and get another account because they've been shadow banned. Well, if they've been shadow banned or perma banned, and they're being told by Faceit to just find another account or make another account and play on that, I don't think that's the wisest or smartest move or comments you could say. Now, obviously, there was one of the admins on Faceit, which I've tweeted about. I don't even know how he can be an admin for Faceit, because he has literally no way of talking to people. The way he spoke to 2 or 3 people, if that was me, it'd be a whole different argument on the timeline completely. The amount of disrespect, all because he thinks he's a moderator or an admin, he has a majority say, and his opinion is better than everyone else's. Honestly, Faceit for me is absolutely shocking. But then saying that, so is the anti-cheat. But getting back on the point, Hector made a good point. I agree with it to a certain degree. I don't think custom quals is the way to do it, personally, because you can then, so to speak, do it so certain players avoid other people in customs, just so they can qual. So I don't agree with that, but I do think it should be mandatory. Streams and face cams at bare minimum should be the main thing. Moving on from Hector, Doug is Raw put a tweet out. All right, where do I start digging for clips and VODs of today? It is a shit show. Gonna go through some of this on stream again. Now, obviously, Doug is Raw is known. He's been permabanned in another game, VAC banned, I do believe. I'm not here to call out people cheating or not, so it is what it is. But when he's putting tweets out as well, I think people need to start understanding whether he's been VAC banned or not. The whole World Series of Warzone Hackerville or Hacker Zone is gone too far now. It is literally gone too far, especially with $1 million on the line. Gavin also tweeted out, we're going to actually watch this clip.
Oh my god.
Yep. Help me out.
Fun. Back up there.
I'm reloading.
Now, from just that clip alone, you can tell that dude's not using aimbot because his aim was awful. But you could tell he was definitely walling. So, obviously, Gavin's put a tweet out. No World Series of Warzone for you. He was in quite a few lobbies that I was spectating over the 3 days. And you can blatantly tell he was walling his ass off. And for him to be walling his ass off on the Friday and the Saturday and still doing it on the Sunday, very questionable of is the anti-cheat actually there or not. Now, quite a lot of people will say the anti-cheat isn't there, but then you look at the aspect of people being shadow banned and then they're saying, oh, it's because I've been mass reported, and Call of Duty have already come out and said you don't get shadow banned for being mass reported. So what do players get shadow banned for if it's not through mass reporting? Obviously, it has to be something being flagged on their account. So it's very questionable with the anti-cheat. It's very questionable. Is it there? Isn't it not? FIFA tweeted out, well, he retweeted Repulse's tweet. Console only open/closed qualifiers. Even the playing field, filter out the cheaters. Now, obviously, Repulse's reply saying, I'm down. But let's just go back to the start of Black Ops 6. You had players that are playing on PS5 and they were doing remote play and actually playing off their PC because they were doing remote play. And obviously, there was a tutorial how to do that by someone that I'm going to mention after going through these tweets. So even console isn't safe, because although it will show them as being on PlayStation, that actually got all the ability of the PlayStation and PC if they do remote play. So it kind of defeats the object there, in my opinion. FIFA also puts a clip up.
Bro, you know what's mad? You know what's mad? You know what's...
And obviously, cheaters shooting his body and stuff, it is absolutely absurd. This is allowed to go on. I do believe this was on Sunday as well. Or was this on the Friday? I think it was a Friday. He got hacked on. Super Evan tweeted out, the World Series Warzone qualifiers has to be one of the most embarrassing things in competitive gaming history. I seriously don't know why I still play this game. Now, a lot of people have said the same thing, and we're going to come back to Super Evan's tweet in a minute. Zepti. Now, this is questionable because Zepti has placed 14th in the World Series of Warzone Open Quals in 2025. But in 2024, his account was in bad standing. Now, having spoken to people in the know about bad standing, that is something that has been flagged on your account. It's nothing to do with doing glitches, camo glitches, nothing like that. There's something third party on your account that's being flagged. Zepti came out and said he lent his account to someone. This was last year. He lent his account to someone and they did camo glitch, but obviously they used unlocker tool. So he was kind of protected by all the other tournament players, which is a bit questionable in my opinion. Jay Devise also put a tweet. World Series Warzone is a blessing for competitors and our communities, but we can't have another World Series Warzone after this until you make drastic changes for cheating. This was a miserable experience and this breaks my heart as a COD fan and at Call of Duty. Now, I agree. I watched so many POVs and it was just, as I said, Friday and Saturday was just awful with the hackers, especially on the Saturday. And it just made the game boring as a viewer to watch because people were being hacked on right, left and centre. But again, the question comes down to, is the anti-cheat there, is it not? Going off what I saw this weekend for the World Series of Warzone, there was no way the anti-cheat was turned on Friday and Saturday. No way whatsoever. But then you've got an issue, just going back to Super Evans' tweet about competitive gaming history and why he doesn't know why he still plays this game. Is Call of Duty competitive? That's the question you gotta ask yourself. Is it competitive, especially in the tournament scene? FIFA has said even playing field, filter out the cheaters. Now, all of these players have two things in common from this weekend. They're all complaining about being hacked on, rightly so. I'm not disagreeing with them. They have the right to express their opinions about being hacked on and the state of the World Series of Warzone with all the hackers in there. But they've also got one thing else in common. And FIFA has said he wants an even playing field. Super Evan has basically said the same. Jay Devise has basically said the same. Repulse has basically said the same. But they all have in common, they use audio cheese. Now, if you want an even playing field, then surely you need to bring it in. People can't use audio cheese. And we all know Art is War has been on all of these PCs and finally tuned their audio for them because we've seen it on their streams when Artist War's been in there and had access to their PCs to do the audio cheese and stuff. Now, is the audio cheese classed as cheating? In my opinion, yes, it is, because you can hear people 3-4 buildings away from you, which is giving you the advantage. The game isn't being played how it's intended to be played as an even playing field. Hence why the audio cheese is there to help certain people have the advantage. So if we're going to have an even playing field, does that mean you're going to be on the same page as banning audio cheese? Because if you ban audio cheese, not being funny, but half of these top 100 teams, NA and EU or EMEA, are not qualing. And that's obvious and that's fact. Yes, they have gun skill, but they're not going to know there's a team pushing them from 3 buildings away if they haven't got the audio cheese. So that's what you've also got to bring into question. Now, I've got nothing against any of these players, personally. I don't really watch Dougie's Raw. I don't really watch Zepti. But the rest of them, I have no issue with whatsoever. I get on all right with Hector, or I believe I get on well with Hector, in all fairness. But the question is, where do you draw the line at who's to blame? Is it Call of Duty, Raven Software, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, IW, Microsoft? Is it them that are at fault, or is it the player base at fault? Because the players are trying to bend the rules to a certain degree, in my opinion. FIFA said he wants an even playing field, but is he willing to give up the audio cheese, which he uses? Is Gavin going to give up the audio cheese? Is Super Evan going to give up the audio cheese? Jay Devise, is he going to give up the audio cheese? So on, the list is endless. Are they going to give up the audio cheese to be more competitive? Because if they're giving up the audio cheese as well as trying everything in their power to even the playing field, I'm all for it. But if you're going to do it where people go to, let's say, console only, but then they're allowed to remote play, you're defeating the object of what you're trying to put in place, because people are using remote play to get all the benefits from PC with the audio cheese. We saw that at the start of Black Ops 6. Again, I witnessed it myself with Artist War going onto people's PCs to help set up the audio cheese. Now, I could list off a big list of names that use the audio cheese that Artist War has actually tuned their audio for and helped them with doing the audio cheese settings, but we'd be an all day type of thing. And when you look at the integrity of the competitive level, we're going to go on to a slightly different subject. But Adrian, if we're going to go on about competitive, why is it Adrian got permabanned and within 20-30 minutes he got unpermabanned because people reached out to Shanice and Robert and God knows who else to get him unpermabanned, and it was the same tournament players that were there defending him to get his account back? Well, if he's been permabanned, something's been flagged up on his account. That's, again, fact. So if you're going to bend the rules, then it's not going to work. You need a fine print of rules where everybody abides to. Call of Duty puts them out. They remove the whitelist, they move the player protection, and then it's free game for everybody. Everyone's on the same playing field. Because as it stands at the moment, we were laughing and joking about this on Friday night, me and a few others. You go to, and I'm just going to throw random names out. I'm not saying they're cheating or anything like that. I'm just saying, you go to people's streams. Let's say Biffle. You go to Biffle's stream, you do exclamation Krig and it brings up his build. You put them attachments on your Krig and you go to the firing range and you see Biffle in the firing range. Biffle's gun doesn't move, but with the same attachments on, basically a fresh account if you like, and you do the same. You just literally ADS and shoot at the wall or at the markers or whatever. Not the actual bots in the shooting range, but like the white pieces of like that drops down or the checkboard on the right hand side. If you shoot at that, your gun shoots squiggles compared to Biffle's. If you go to Intex's stream and you do exclamation Krig, same thing. So why is it certain guns don't move for certain people, but with the same attachments, same build, same game settings, sensitivity settings and everything else like that, why does others bounce? So that's another questionable thing. Why do some people that are on the whitelist that I saw personally in the World Series of Warzone, why are they shooting 3 bullets at someone and getting insta knocks from 3 bullets, but then there's other good players that are not known in the tourney scene having to put 10 to 15 bullets just to break armor? So going back to FIFA's tweet about being on the same playing field, even playing field, everybody should be removed from the whitelist and player protection and everything like that. So everyone is literally on the same playing field. Audio cheese has to go, everything has to go to put everyone on the same playing field. And if people get shadow banned or perma banned, so be it. Don't all rally around certain people because they're part of the homie clique in the tournament scene. We saw it with TP as well. TP's moderator sending a clip in of, I forgot his name, Amir, of cheating. And he wasn't cheating. But because a moderator has a direct line to someone at Raven, they lost their account. And that account is from someone that is a tourney player. So the control as it stands at the moment, the players are in control of the game. It's not the dev department whatsoever. It is the players that are in control by the looks of the timeline and everything that's going on. So if you want an even playing field, you're going to have to cut back the whitelist, the player protection, everything like that to make it an even playing field. If you swap it over to console only for open and closed quals, then whoever makes LAN have to play on console as well. So it's the same format throughout start to finish. 120 FO frames, FPS, same input. Everything has to be the same. You can't do console only for open and closed quals and then full on PC for LAN because it's totally different. So the main question is, who's at fault? Is it the dev department and the actual game, like Call of Duty, that are at fault, or is it the players for still playing? Because for me personally, I think it's a bit of both. If the players were to not play the game for a week, as combined, all the tournament players, because they're the ones that bring in the views to the game, which is a marketing point for Call of Duty, if they stop playing the game for a week, the retention of viewers would go down for Call of Duty. The retention on the actual playing side of it would go down, which would then force the hand of Call of Duty to have to do something. But for them to do something to make it an even playing field, like FIFA has said, they're going to have to strip everything back to bare bones. No whitelist, no player protection, no, oh, well, that looks sus, but we're going to let it go. You're going to have to put the anti-cheat on full, like turn it up. And although people say, oh, if they turn it up or whatever, then people are going to get banned. If it's flagging something on your PC, it's flagging something on your PC. Valorant does the same thing with Vanguard. If you don't put, I think it's secure boot, I think it is. If you don't have that on, or something to do with the BIOS, you've got to change something in the BIOS, can't remember what it is, but then you can't play Valorant on PC because it's how their anti-cheat works. So it's one of them. And it's the same with people that are not registering Windows 10 because they think it's a loophole of getting around certain things being detected. It's actually causing more harm than good, not activating your Windows license. But again, whitelisted players seem to think they can use this, that, and everything else to get around things. Now, I've said it several times. I've spoke to Hector about it. I've spoke to a few other people about it. The only way you're going to make Call of Duty competitive is by doing 3 or 4 different leagues, if you like, and stop favoriting the same players in tournaments. Because if you look at WTF, you look at Arena, you look at Hector's tournaments that he puts on, and it's not a diss at these guys that put tournaments on. I'm just literally observing and giving my opinion on it. It's the same players that get captain spots. It's the same teams formed, which you're holding back up and coming talent. There is no reason why you can't do, let's say on a Friday, a tournament for 10k for the known players, like your Aidens, your Biffles, your Fifas, your Jukies, your Lennons, Rob Stars, whatever, your Irrationals. There's no reason why you can't do a tournament like that. But then a week or 2 weeks later, do something for the up and coming people. And if you did like a league type thing, if Call of Duty allowed you to do a league type thing, you could do a workaround. If you've got 40 teams in a tournament as trios, that's 120 players. Technically you could get 50 teams, but you could do the bottom 10 teams get pushed down into the league below, if you can call it a league, and the 10 teams that are the top 10 in the league below get pushed up. So you're changing the roster so people have to fight for their spots. Because over the last couple of tournaments that I've watched personally, there's been teams in the bottom 10, bottom 15 finishing, and not being disrespectful, they have no rights being in that tournament when there's other players that haven't been given a chance that are better. And I understand people say, oh well, I've earned the right to be here, or I deserve to be here, but you only earn or deserve a spot if you're a contender. If you're finishing, in all fairness, if you're finishing bottom half of the table of the draw that's there, you don't deserve to be in the next tournament, in my opinion, because you're not putting up the fights. You're not getting the points to keep yourself in. If you look at any league, any sports league, whether it's soccer, football, American football, it's done on point based. So if you're getting the points and you're staying in the top half of the table, you deserve to be there. But normally it's the bottom 3 teams that are relegated to the league below or the division below. If you do that in the tournament scene and you've got 50 teams and you put the bottom 10 go into the division below that, and the 10 teams in the division below come up to the first division, if you like, you're rotating the players, and it gives everybody a chance to play and get noticed. But admittedly, some of them won't make the cut to be the top 10 in the world, but it puts eyes on up and coming talent, because as soon as Aiden quits permanently, as soon as Biffle quits permanently, Jukies, Soka, FIFA, as soon as all these well-known names quit tournament level, people are going to be like, well, who's this kid? Because they're not getting the airtime. So that's just my opinion on it, personally. I think with how the World Series Warzone has been this year, I don't agree with some of the admins on Faceit with how they've behaved and acted. But then I agree with what Hector said about the Money cams making it, face cams and streams be mandatory, because again, there was sus players, in my opinion, that were playing rubbish on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. They decided they were going to pop off where no one can see them or get clips. Admittedly, there was a few people that I've seen clips of from a different POV, and I've gone, yeah, nah, that's not legit at all. But that's by the by. But yeah, hopefully Call of Duty can do something. As I said, I've got no hate towards any of these players. I like these players. It's not my place to say who's cheating and who's not cheating. But Hector has a reach, and I think if Hector can do it so it's mandatory, the streams, it's mandatory there is face cam, and I mean a full face cam, not just a forehead cam, has to be a full face cam, then I think that's one step in the right direction, personally.